Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. Oh, I got a little glow. That's what it used to look like. We're digital now. Just crossed 3 million hits, visitors on my site last month for the month of November. First time ever. Unbelievable. But it was amazing. I was out at a conference last week. And, at the end of the month, my web stats click in. So I woke up at about Wednesday night. I was out there for my reception. It was great. Had a lot of people show up. It'll be in the next issue in the wrap up. And woke up about 3:34. I got to see if I crossed 3 million people because I know I was close. I was like 2.9 last month. And then in October. And then all of a sudden, I went online. And I'm like, oh my God, 3,400,000. But thank you to all of you out there that have hit the site and consumed our content and the new magazine and watch our podcast and all that stuff. Thank you so much. Look, it's the holiday season, time to get, reflect. And I can't thank all of you out there that are my supporters that have stuck with me. I just had my 22-year anniversary as a publisher going out on my own from Nielsen, and couldn't have done it without you. But thank you so much for taking me over the 3 million mark. I really, really appreciate it. A lot of things going on. Got Hanukkah, Christmas. You got New Year's coming up. It's bowl season. University of Georgia, #1, taking on Ohio State. Oh, yeah. It's going to be brutal. Buckeyes against the Dogs. Woof, woof. That goes woof, woof. Actually, this is my North Gwinnett lacrosse coaching shirt. So, but close enough. It looks like a Georgia Bulldog. I just don't have red and black when I got blue on. So, anyway, amazing stuff. The town's going to be going crazy. So, if they win, they'll go into the BCS over New Year's, and they're either going to beat Michigan or I think TCU's in there, right? Yeah. So, really good teams. Our quarterback, Bennett, walk on. What a great story. No one had any faith in him. Came in, he's got a winning streak. He's going for the Heisman. If they win the national championship, he'll win the Heisman. That's all I got to say, or he deserves it. I mean, so, but it's been pretty exciting. Lacrosse season just starts. Got the Swarm coming up. I think I got a couple. There's a game over New Year's. I got there's an ice hockey tournament I got to play in, and I think a lacrosse gig indoors I got to go to. So lots of stuff going on. Have our summit coming up here on January 26th in Atlanta. So hopefully, if you're in Atlanta, we'd love to have you. And if you're not, you can always log in and be a participant too. Got a webinar coming up, my women's webinar on Wednesday next week, December 14th as well. So if you're not doing anything from 1 to 2 East Coast time, let me know and I'll send you the Zoom link. I'll post it up on LinkedIn too, again, just as a friendly reminder. So lots of going on. Got a ton of rain all week. They're filling the lake up. So we always like the water during the winter to keep the lake full because we use a ton of water here in the South in the spring and the summer. So, and I'm right below the lake and it's just went up a foot, I think, this week. So it's just been pouring. So with that said, I went to University of Denver. I'm a Coloradoan. And I've got a gentleman at a Greenwood Village. His name is Nick Lopez. Nick, he's with Line Painting. Nick, say hello to our audience out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be on. David, congrats on the 3 million. That's a tremendous milestone.
Yeah, let me tell you, it was, before, the shutdown and the roller coaster, I was below probably a million. I was a print guy, print face to face. Then I went digital. When I went over 1 million, it was great. Then I went up to 1.5. Then when I crossed 2 million, I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Then last year we had, so like I said, I've been sitting about 2.6, 2.8, 2.9 the last couple of months. I'm like, oh my God, this could be the month that I go over 3 million people that hit the site. And sure enough, December 1st, I opened up at 3:30 in the morning out in Tempe, Arizona. I was staying out down by the airport because my flight was early in the morning. And woke up and I had to take a double take. It was like looking at the lottery ticket going, oh my God, I won all the numbers. So anyway, it was just an exciting thing, a nice benchmark to reach. And so I appreciate the congrats. But the reason why I had Nick on, his publicist reached out to me once again, sent me a really cool story. And I was like, hey, listen, my wife's an interior designer, kind of residential contractor. She's been so busy. Painting can make the difference of anything. You put some fresh paint on something, it just makes the room look so much nicer. And we just put new floor. We have our lot up on the lake we're trying to build on right now, but we're waiting for things to kind of with the labor and all that to settle down. And so we have a little house that we're living in, and ripped up the floors, and we had the painters come in and they did the baseboards. What a difference, just a little paint, just on a little trim. It just made everything look so nice. And so when Nick was coming, I'm like, hey, we just did a job. So hey, but with everybody being at home over the last couple of years, so much stuff has been done, in stores, in residential, hotel, whatever. And painting is a crucial part of any construction project. And a lot of the painters do a lot of other stuff that people don't know. They'll do trim work, they'll do this and that, and the reason why I nick on is A, he's an entrepreneur. B, he's in construction, he's in that service oriented business. And he's from Colorado, so Denver, on the outskirts. And when I was there, what didn't even exist, it was forest. So anyway, Nick, the way this was going to work is we'll do it in 3 parts. You're gonna tell us your story, where you grew up, you're married, got any kids, any played any sports. I know you're a snowboarder because we talked about that right before we got on. Then we'll talk about the last 30 months, lessons learned, how you navigated your way through there. And then you'll finish up with one positive thought or phrase and your contact info. So with that said, Nick, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
I actually am, as you mentioned, from Denver, Colorado, and my story from a professional standpoint starts in college. So I went to Michigan State, and yeah, old Sparty.
Yeah, Sparty.
Not doing so well football wise this year, but I guess we just won't talk too much about that.
Good hockey team though, and basketball.
Very good hockey team. I actually have a suite, and so I got to watch the Avalanche go through the playoffs, and oh my gosh, really been watching them religiously over the past 6 years or so. And it's fun when your team gets a championship. You with the Georgia Bulldogs, and having all that last year, maybe going back to back.
Well, Denver had, listen, like I said, I went to DU, and my parents had a place in Vail forever. I was a ski bum my whole life. And, last year in Denver, you had the Avs win, you had the Mammoth win the indoor, the Donkeys, they were, but the Nuggets, they were in there, the Rockies, but here in Georgia, the Braves won. Who knew they were going to pull it out? And then, the Bulldogs won it. And so it was actually a good time for both the cities. So I was watching the Nuggets last night. Who were they playing? They were playing Dallas. I forget. I was watching the 3rd or 4th quarter, and it was going back and forth. But anyway, it was great though. The Avs, what a season, pulled it off. And then the Mammoth, they came out of nowhere and won the NLL. So and that wasn't their first one. I think it was their 2nd championship, and then DU won the national championship in ice hockey. We beat Michigan in the semis, and then we beat Minnesota State. And I think DU's ranked number 1. We're playing Minnesota Duluth this weekend on the road. So go Pios, and beat those Bulldogs in Minnesota, on the frozen pond. So, but actually, Minnesota State, Michigan State, I went out to a couple years back. I went out for alumni weekend when we won the lacrosse championship for the first time. And that weekend, Michigan State was playing DU. And we swept Michigan State, but it was very close games, and it was great to, and I've got a couple of friends up there that clients. So during lacrosse season hockey, we're always going back and forth, Sparty, Pios. So I know all about Sparty, believe me.
Yeah, well, I didn't know much being from Denver, and I went there because of the business school, in part the student living and the campus. But there was a wrestler my sophomore year of high school. I wrestled at Arvada West here in Colorado, and the wrestler at my weight class had just won the national title as a freshman, NCAA championship. And so my logic as a sophomore in high school was, by the time I get to Michigan State, he'll be a senior, I'll be a freshman, and I'd learn from one of the best and take over and get a scholarship, go from there. So I did just that. I was pretty much a broke college kid, took out a $500 credit card and, packed all my stuff in a bag shoulder high, and I was off to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a preferred walk-on, and, I got a bill, like $2,200. And as a college student, that was just so much money. And it became clear that a scholarship was a couple years out. So I made a really tough decision. I was pretty much a gym rat growing up, and very much loved wrestling and everything about the culture and locker room of being on a team, and some of my best memories in college. But the reality was that I had a lot of out-of-state tuition to deal with. So thankfully, I was my girlfriend at the time, now wife, mother of 4 children. I met her. She was a tutor through the athletic center at Michigan State. So I'd go in there every Thursday, and then at the end of the time I was wrestling, I basically told her, "Hey, I'm done wrestling, and thanks for everything." And she ended up friend requesting me on Facebook, and there was just something different about it. And so sure enough, I ended up in proposing to her in college. But the point of that is that, even against her older sister's advice, she gave me the $2,200, and that's how I stayed in school. I started a paint company in college called Spartan College Painters.
Oh, nice.
And, I looked at, the bigger the house, the bigger the college bills had helped me pay. That was really my logic as a broke college kid with big out-of-state bills. And so little did I know I was stumbling on our niche. So we are a luxury paint company, line painting. And so we're the first and only largest national. We're coming up on 80 locations here. But that was all started in college from me trying to pay for out-of-state tuition. And I started getting into my business degree, learning about competitive advantage, and getting my marketing degree, learning about positioning. If you're high price, high quality, that's your niche. That's everything that you do, from the consumer to the way you build the business. But as I started hearing from clients more and more very simple compliments like, "Thanks for showing up, thanks for answering your phone," there was a lot of lack of trust, asking me if I was going to run off with their deposit or job hop or charge them more after. And so it was just clear that, oh my gosh, these clients that are willing to pay more to get more, they're really struggling to find a reliable, consistent option that allows them to buy and consume the way that they do everything else. They paid more to get a bigger house. They paid more to get a nice car in the driveway. They paid more to go to a nice restaurant that weekend. And when they try to pay more for a contractor, it's difficult. But specifically when it comes to painting, it's tough to find a provider that it knows luxury, that has vetted high grade products, talented artisans, and is approaching their home from just that, a luxury, a high end perspective, and for that consumer with that expectation. So that really became a passion, a love, a craft, all of those things, but even more so an opportunity. And as I've got more educated in my business degree, that opportunity became clearer and clearer. So I talked to a mentor. He gave me a book in college called 𝐸_MYTH Revisited by Michael Gerber. And that book introduced me to this idea of franchising and what it means to systematize a business so that you can replicate that same product or service over and over, but more so work on the business, not in it. And that gave me the vision and the direction for what would shape the next 2.5 years in college. And then I moved back home to Denver in 2013, started line painting. Those first 4 years were really about proving out the business, establishing the unit economics, creating more differentiation, more value for the client, more refining the business, but looking at it from the standpoint of, it's a different market, it's a different part of the country, and having franchising in mind. So I joined a franchise association called the International Franchise Association in 2016, and traveled around that circuit, really getting educated on franchising 2016, 2017. And then 2018, we onboarded our first franchise, 2019, our next couple. And then August of 2020, we had 7 locations. So you talked about wanting to talk about the past 30 months. We had 7 locations in August of 2020. Like I said, today we're coming up on 80 as of, Q4 of 2022.
It's amazing. Just like with this podcast, I always do my summit in January, and I want to always like to be the first one out because everybody can't go to all the events. And so I had my 10th anniversary event in Jacksonville, went to Florida, was doing my monthly cocktail reception. We were doing an outdoor shopping center tour of a renovation. And then I was in Milwaukee looking for hotels, and the shutdown happened. And then I was a print face-to-face guy. And then I had to make a decision, after 20 some odd years of printing the magazine, what am I going to do? I can't send contracts. I can't do my events. I was bi-monthly. And so, my artist and my editor were like, hey, let's go digital. And I was like, okay. So there were a lot of sleepless nights in April when I had made that decision. And because I still like having the magazine in my hand and, that kind of stuff. But now when I look back over where I am today, I'm a completely different company than I was back then. And all of the customers, like I was going to do a podcast once a month on a construction site and meet people out there and go out on the road and do it. So when the shutdown happened, I did a podcast once a week. Then we increased our magazine to 125,000 people versus 5,000 print copies. And you could share the link and, all this stuff. And then everything else that came with it. And the biggest thing was that everybody that I talked to over the last 30 months plus, they've had some of the best years that they've ever had. They've weathered the storm, and they were able to be flexible and kept their company culture, learn that people can work out of their house, and and not just be laying in bed or whatever. Some people have to work in an office, but in general, it was that struggle of what do we do, and now that things are open, how do I keep them happy because they've proven themselves that they can work out of their house? Why should you let them sit like in Denver? Denver traffic was brutal when I was there. I know it's brutal now, whether you're on the 6 out to Lakewood or up to Boulder or whatever. It's heavy. I-70, 225, 25. I go down the list. So here in Atlanta, on a Friday afternoon when it's raining, it's gonna be a mess out there. So but a lot of my clients, they've just had like their best years ever. And the only thing that they would have better years if they could find PMs and superintendents and maybe get the permitting done, or they would even have better years because some people just won't even take on more business because they can't cover it. And that's the worst thing you can do is take on business and not perform and deliver. And so be going from 7 to 80. Congrats. That's awesome. And you as the owner that built it, you kind of have your vision, and they're all a little different, but they're still doing the same thing in your vision that you built. So it's it's kind of like Sparty. Every year they probably got another guy in that mascot uniform, but he's still doing the same thing, doing the muscle thing, and all that stuff. So it's that same concept. But being a sports guy, I didn't know that you were a grappler. I don't. That's what we called wrestlers. They were grapplers. And what's funny is when I was in middle school, we had wrestling in gym. I don't think they do that anymore. But I learned half Nelsons, pancakes, and all that stuff. We had wrestling, when I was in outside of Philly. We took wrestling in phys ed, in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. So I could have been a grappler, but I was a hockey player, at that point. I didn't even pick up a lacrosse stick till I went to prep school. So and boarded. But uh, being a wrestler, you got to worry about making weight. You got to sweat your tail off. And being a wrestler in practice, man, those guys sweat. And a lot of my friends in school were wrestlers. Some I knew a heavyweight, middleweight. Some of these guys, but they worked their tail off to get to where they were. So that work ethic, to be a wrestler, making weight, fasting, making sure you're dieting correctly, and all those things is kind of like project management. And then you took it to the business side, and that's what's very impressive. That's why I like always having athletes on talking them that where they went from the battlefield, whether it's the frozen pond or the lacrosse field or the football field, the mat, to the business world, and you've done it. So congratulations.
Mm.
Yeah,
it's been a fun process, and yeah, absolutely. Business allows you to experience all those things I mentioned I enjoyed about wrestling: the competition, the camaraderie, the culture, the locker room, the people piece, the working toward goals, the journey, the ups, the downs, the wins, the losses, the progress, and just really enjoying the journey.
Yeah. So talking about like the last 30 months, what were a couple of good lessons that you didn't know that you learned, going through the roller coaster, as we finish Q4 off of 2022 and go into 2023? What do you think our listeners, could pick up from you?
Well, I think that more so things were affirmed, and I say that because being somebody that is a high performer, as an athlete, I mentioned I was a gym rat. I just had a lot of energy growing up, and my parents harnessed that by putting me in sports and gave me that carrot to chase. And so, that point exactly, chasing the goal and working toward progress. And I think that so many times what can stop that, it's really just the head trash, and more so fear. And so fear steals opportunities. It steals opportunities over weeks, months, quarters, years, unfortunately. And it never shows up and says, "Hey, I'm fear." It shows up as, give it some time, there's change, or you're not qualified, or you may not make it, or you might not be good enough, or it might not be time right now. But what I've always benefited from is just doing it. And I love that slogan, "Just do it." And when I left Michigan State with a credit card, it was like, how do I get there? I just have to do it. And it doesn't matter if I have the funds or not, or if I've ever been there or I haven't, and what I'm going to do when I get there. There's something powerful about just doing it, just showing up. And you start realizing that if you do that for long enough, more and more people will stop doing along the way. And pretty soon you'll be one of the few. And in business, that just separates you and allows you to be one of those folks that has stuck around long enough or figured it out, and you can bring real value. And that's essentially what the marketplace is looking for: value, right? And so many times we don't figure out how to give that value because we don't even start, or we give up along the way. And really, it's not an end point when you're giving up. It's really, where's the next solution? What's next? Where do we go from here? It's a crossroad. It's a lesson. It's part of the process. But if it's an ending, then that's exactly what it is. So, however you define it, in having that standpoint of, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to let fear steal opportunities. And throughout the past 30 months, there's been plenty of opportunities for fear to step in and say, "Hey, don't do this, don't do that." And that it could come from social media, the news, family, friends. It's all around us. And so you had mentioned, hey, the folks that have stuck in there and have kept executing, have kept showing up, they've had results because they're one of the folks that are playing the game. They're showing up. There's something powerful about showing up, even if you don't have all the answers. You have the right folks around you, the right intent, and the right fundamentals. It'll all come together, and that's true whether we're in uncertain times or not. And so, I think as of late, it's been more so just navigating fear and having more of a sensitivity toward when fear is trying to hijack and steal opportunities. And so I've just had a lot of affirmation around executing, showing up, just doing it. I started my career in 2008 back in college, and that was the Great Recession. And
Yeah.
I had 0 years experience, and I was out of state and unfamiliar area, and frankly unqualified. I didn't have painting experience, but I had a good heart. I had a good intent. I had the right motives, and I was servant minded, and I did right by people. And if it wasn't perfect at first, I did everything I could to make it right for the client. And I was able to learn and grow in the middle of a time where a lot of people were pulling back. And I think we're in a similar period now where a lot of folks pulled back and stopped and kind of waited it out. And I felt I had a lot of deja vu to 2018 or 2008, 2009 coming up on the past, 2020 or so. And, I looked at it as, oh, here we go. It's time to outlast my peers, and it's time to execute, and it's time to protect my headspace. And so in a franchise, that's exactly what we did. We came together as a community, as owners, and we had a lot of empathy for folks that were just independent business owners. We're like, oh my gosh, they don't have the benefit of leaning in on the community that we do, but let's do just that. Let's turn off the news. Let's turn off social media. Let's lean in. Let's talk about our business and what we can control. Let's focus on what we can control. And everybody was able to be successful in 2020, in terms of the franchise owners. And so I guess, more than anything there, I think that uncertainty presents opportunity just as much as it eliminates opportunity. And it's different, right? There's so many different scenarios, but every circumstance is different. But that was mine.
I just took a digital class boot camp for 12 weeks, and now I'm a certified digital marketer. I can build funnels, content. Listen, I'm a digital guy anyway, but one of the biggest thing was mindset and getting rid of negativity and fear. So, when I built my Facebook business page for my marketing division, I use sports quotes. Whether it's quotes from coaches or players, but it's always don't quit, don't let fear, head on. You're not going to make you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but you gotta learn from your losses and apply it. Just like if you're in a wrestling match, after the first period, you might be down a couple points, but you had a plan, but now you saw this guy has a new move and you have to, kind of be ready for it. And, you want to get the pin. I'm putting it in wrestling terms, because you're a wrestler. So, it's all of those things. And I just like get her done. Winning, look, winning ugly is still a W. You can win 45-0 or you can win 2-1. It doesn't matter. It's still a W. I'll take a W winning ugly or pretty. It doesn't matter. I just don't want bagels on the scoreboard. And the biggest thing was don't surround yourself with negative people. Get rid of them. Don't surround yourself with them because they're just going to bring you down. And, I'm older than you, but I went through the gas crisis in the 70s, the lines and all that. I went through 9/11, was in New York, and, and then started my business 2 months after 9/11. So I know what you were thinking. And then, the 2008 crash, construction got whacked. It was just, unbelievable. And, I went to the internet bubble too. I forgot about the beginning of 2000, and all the poo-pooers saying, I was with Nielsen. Oh, you can retire here. Don't leave. You have an expense account, blah, blah, blah. And even my parents, you know, they were the don't leave. And I was like, nope, I'm rolling the dice. 9 out of 10 businesses don't make it. And here I am 22 years later. People were all week sending me congratulations notes. And thank you for all that out there on LinkedIn, you know, for making it for my 22 years in business. Couldn't, you know, but I'm still standing, you know, and it wasn't, and listen, there were some great years and there were, you know, it's been a roller coaster, you know, and, but I've had fun the whole way, you know, and I always say something, I always tell people, look, if you're not, you know, the day I stop learning is the day I should go do something else. And if you're not having fun, go do something else too. I'm a black belt. They always tell you, there is no end to your journey. You become a first degree black belt, second degree, third, you're always learning. You're never going to stop learning. And even though you've reached the summit and you're an elite group of, you know, because there's only so many black belts that are out there. You're an elite group, but you can take that and go. And all of those Taekwondo, you know, way that you should live your life is the way that I live my life. But everything that I just took this digital class, they have those same things. Smile, have fun, be on time, want to get up in the morning and, you know, go to battle every day. And at the end of the day, you know, you recharge yourself, you look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I gave it my best. You win some, you lose some, but you always want to be going forward. You don't want to be going lateral and you don't want to go looking back, you know, because guess what? You can't change history. It's already in there. So I love getting it done. You know, get her done is like one of my favorite things, and never, ever quit, ever, you know, and yeah, you know, I remember when before the Avalanche, they had the Colorado Rockies. They were a hockey team, and they were so bad that people used to wear paper bags on their heads. And this is I'm talking, you know, in the 80s, you know, before they had the Denver Zephyrs. That was the baseball team, you know, and so you know, and now look at it. You can't even get a ticket to go see the Avs, you know, and so it. You know, DU, we've won 9 national championships. You know, one of the only schools on the pond. But they look how many years they've been playing. They don't win it every year. Will they do it this year? Maybe. I'm hoping. But you know, you know, it just wants you to come back and get more. It's like data. You know, those 3 million people, the reason why they come in, they want to consume content. They want to get more. They want to know more. They want to learn more. They you know, consume stuff. It's addicting. So is winning. Winning is addicting. That's why I think, you know, you went from 80 to 8, you know, 7 to 8 to 80. That's winning in my book. And I hope, and some of our listeners out there, you know, think so too. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you and touch base as far as, you know, hey, we'd like you to look at our, you know, our store or our house or whatever, how would they reach out to you, Nick?
You can reach me on our website at limepainting.com. We have a podcast called the Level Up with Nick Lopez podcast. You can go on there, check out any episodes, and you can find me on LinkedIn, Nick Lopez. You can always reach out to me via email, Nick, Nick, at limepainting.com.
Awesome. If anybody wants to reach me, I'm at David C at ccr-mag.com. We'd love to become a subscriber. If you got anything cool, send it to me. You know, I'm posting. We'll find it on social media, Twitter. You know, getting the magazine's tough, but the bottom line is, I come back to you. You just got to be patient because I answer all my emails. And you know, we want to. Hey, we just crossed 3 million. We'll see how many I had for the whole year, but now I'm looking at 3.5 million. You know, or 4. You know, so my benchmark just went up. You know, I'm not sad. Now I'm reached 3. Now I'm not reach 4. Just like DU, we want that 10th national championship. The hot lacrosse team, we went number 2. That's why we come into work every day and practice. So, you know, you will play the game as you practice. Just like on the wrestling mat, you are going to win or lose that match the way that you work that week, and that's just the reality of it. So practice is perfection, and it makes you want to come back. And winning just makes it even that more enjoyable. But then you got to start all over the next week and go at it. And so, Nick, yeah, this is awesome, man. I love talking to sports guys. I'm telling you that mentality, that winning, you know, and you know, being a wrestler, Yeah, half Nelson, pancake. I'm trying to think of all the moves that I learned. And you know what the cool thing was when I was taking my black belt test, I blew my knee out 2 weeks before my black belt test, and I had to go through rehab, but blew my ACL out. It's my second one. I blew my other one playing hockey. When my son was born in '99, so I've had both of them replaced. Anyway, they, it's an amazing thing, just going through it and sticking with it, and then succeeding. It's just the best feeling ever. So anybody out there, send me something. It's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, like Nick's publicist reached out to me, that's how we got on the podcast. So if you reach out to me, we'll help you as much as can to get the word out about your company. Well, Nick, have a Merry Christmas out in Denver. Get on the slopes, hit the snowboard, wear your helmet, be safe, and enjoy the holiday with family, friends. Recharge your battery, because 2023 is going to be another wild ride. I have a feeling. I'm ready to close the books on 2022, but it's been a great year, and I think I have one or two more podcasts left, and I'll do my end of year one. So it's amazing. I was just doing my opening for January. It's amazing that I'm even saying this. It feels like it went like that. So, any final thoughts, Nick, before we go? You want to say what you want? Floor's yours.
Final thoughts. We've talked so much, and I haven't really mentioned much about our franchise opportunity. You can find out more on limepainting.com, but clearly, we've talked so much about, the past 30 months. The next 12 months could include a lot of layoffs. And if you're looking to take your future into your own hands through business ownership, reach out to us. We'd be happy to share with you what it means to be a franchise owner, the sort of support and resources that you have, not to mention the proven business process, the branding, the systems, everything that goes into a franchise that provides you the American dream, business ownership. If that's your American dream, we'd be happy to talk to you about that and share with you what it could mean for you to join our family at Lime Painting.
That was awesome. Hey, being an entrepreneur, you work for yourself. You're the captain of the ship. You're the last person on, and you want to make sure that ship's going to keep floating, and hopefully have a lot of passengers on it, and nothing like working for yourself. But it's just like you got to take the good with the bad. Not every day is going to be the dreamland, and some days are going to be harder than others. But in all, at the end, entrepreneurship is the best thing that I ever did. And I'm so glad I didn't listen to all the people that said, don't go, stay. And it's been an amazing ride. I've learned so much about myself. And like I said, I'm an athlete, and I've done so much stuff that I look back and, I don't know if I would have done it, because I wouldn't have had that winning attitude and that drive. And so thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. To everybody out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, thank you once again for being subscribers and finding us on the web. Everybody, couple weeks, you got Christmas coming up, you got Hanukkah, you got New Year's. Have fun with your families, recharge your battery, get ready for the New Year's, and keep the faith and just have fun. So, and be safe out there. If you're skiing, wear a helmet. So, or snowboarding too. So with that said, Nick, say goodbye out there in Greenwood Village, Colorado.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'm going to say goodbye. Sugar Hill, just below the Buford Dam on Lake Lanier, about 25 miles out of downtown Atlanta, in a pouring down rainstorm. Go, yeah, fill up that lake. And we will see you on our next episode. And I'm going to say, go Sparty, go Pios, win, go baby. And we will see. Yeah, there you go. And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. And Nick, when I get out to Denver, I always do a reception during the summer. I'm gonna come. We'll I'll shake your hands in person. Okay.
Reach out. It'd be a pleasure.
And we'll talk Sporty Pio stuff and all that good stuff. All right.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Hey, Merry Christmas out there. Happy holidays, and we will see you next time. Thanks for chiming in.